Hi everyone, my name's Saki. This is going to be my first ever video blog, and probably the most difficult one to do because I have a lot of trouble speaking on camera in general, and that's due to my social anxiety issues which I've had throughout my childhood. Quite a severe case actually. I've suffered from selective mutism, which is something I've carried all throughout high school, throughout most of high school, and I'm here to tell you the story of what I went through, how I overcame it, and I hope that this video reaches a large audience. I want it to reach as many people as possible who suffer from the same issues, in order to give them a little bit of help, a little bit of an extra confidence boost if I can, because that's my intention. So first, let me tell you what select mutism is. It's a condition where you're afraid to talk vocally. And at school, the whole time I was not saying a single word. I wouldn't utter a single word at school to anybody. The only people I would ever talk to were my parents. It was extreme social anxiety for me, and for nearly 9 years of my life I actually didn't utter a single word, and it was quite tough at times. But I'm here to tell you the story of how I faced this challenge, and the steps I took in order to get myself talking again. So it comes down to being a confidence issue. Most of my childhood, in fact, was pretty unsociable. I didn't interact with the kids around me a lot of the time. Most of the time, in fact, I couldn't adapt to all their ways. I was different. I couldn't fit in. Obviously, because of the barrier, I was lonely. I had very little interaction with others. I would only talk at home. In my first 2 years, I was 5 or 6 years old. I was actually talking a little bit, just to my teacher. I used to whisper into her ear to avoid being heard by the other children, because somehow I felt a little bit more comfortable that way. In my second year, my classroom wasn't even that big. There were only four children in the classroom, so I felt somewhat comfortable talking in that environment. After that, I went on a little family holiday between second and third year, and when I came back, that was when everything changed. I stopped talking completely. It was just sudden. I wouldn't even talk to the four kids in my classroom. Wouldn't even whisper in my teacher's ear, nothing. Just completely stopped, gone. It's like I lost all my confidence to speak. It all just went out the window. And I never truly understood why it happened. But it was from that moment that I'd spend the rest of 9 years not saying a single word to anybody. And because of this, I had to change schools. I was it was a shame really, because I was perfectly capable of talking, but somehow I just lost all my confidence to speak. It was all just listening from there on. I wasn't in that school for too long though. I showed that I still had my writing skills, and I was still capable of being a good academic student. So there was still potential for me to step up. After that, I settled into my final primary school, which was with just normal kids, and I didn't talk at all. I had extra help in the classroom from a teacher's aide, and in fact, my way of communicating with the other students was to write down on paper. This is how I'd communicate with teachers as well. Everything I had to ask, I'd write down on paper. You would have thought that I might not have made any friends by not talking, but I actually did. I made a few friends, some of who are still my friends today. There is still one close friend who I absolutely must be grateful for, because he remained my friend through all my years, all my struggles. And when the friend sticks with you, regardless of your impairment or your problem, that shows that they're a true friend to you. Anyway, I didn't care so much about the fact that I was silent. A lot of the time I was fine. I didn't really care. I was just writing down things on paper, drawing pictures, just enjoying myself. I was unaware of what I was missing out on, and I was even bullied a little bit, but thankfully I never copped anything majorly serious. I never went through, I didn't go through a deep depression or anything. Well, that wasn't until high school at least. And even then, it wasn't that much of a deep depression. It was just when reality started kicking in, and I started having the realization that I'd have to start talking sooner or later. Because if I didn't start talking at some point, it was going to be hard for me to have a future for myself. So it was important. I made it a critical factor that at some point I was going to have to break this bad habit of being silent. And it was one of the most challenging things to this day. I still remember it was one of the hardest things I've had to do. I dismissed the issue for so long, even up to 10th grade, 10th year of high school. That was when I started having the desire to talk. Like, I wasn't even seriously considering it until year 9 at least. So that's when it became my next focus. I had to I had to find a way to start talking. I had to dedicate myself to overcome this problem, and to all those who have suffered, I understand. I know that it's difficult. I know how hard it is to not talk after having not talked for so long, and I know there are people out there who are in need of an extra confidence boost. There is hope. You can overcome this problem, and I promise you, it's worth it. You have to do it. I know there are people out there who have gone much longer without ever talking. I mean, longer than 9 years even. You just got to believe in yourself and believe you can do it. Believing that you can make a change if it's what you truly want to do. You just got to do it. So 2 years before I finished high school, about year 10, this is when I started taking the initiative to make changes. I didn't want to go through every year of high school and never talk to anyone. I wasn't going to let that happen. I even made a promise to my dad that I would talk by this point. So, extra motivation where it's needed. I knew I had to get serious and pursue it, and so I started seeking help from a professional psychologist, and he helped me in a pretty useful way. What you have to do is find something that can help you gain confidence in little steps at a time. Do something that you think will be easy for you. Do something that you don't do often, like talk talk to your parents a little bit more than usual. Every time you come home from school, strike up a conversation. That's that's one of the tactics that he mentioned for me to do. So do something that you're able to do, but you don't often do because of your anxiety. So when you come home from school, try to have a conversation a bit longer than usual. This will help kickstart your confidence. Talk to them about your day. Go out and do things in the real world, even. One thing that helped me was actually going out into public and talking to complete strangers. And I actually found it easier, easier than I thought it would be. Because talking to strangers, I didn't know them, obviously. And at school, since I've been around the same people my whole life, I found it a lot more difficult to start talking to them first. So of course talking to strangers was going to be a little bit easier. And so what I did was I'd go into town, I'd approach a random passerby and just ask for directions. Since the city was like a new environment where I didn't know anyone, I found it a lot easier to talk to people, but very shyly, of course. And I managed to do that a few times. It worked for me. I don't know what'll work for you, but you've got to find something that you're comfortable with doing. It took me a few tries at first, but eventually I was able to. And I kept doing it more and more, and it became easier. You have to start somewhere. There might be some people who can't even imagine the difficulty in talking to strangers, but I certainly found it easier. You gotta find what's easy for you. Talking to strangers is a bit like going to another country where you don't know anyone, and that's why it was easier for me. There were less barriers when it came to interaction because nobody knew me and I knew nobody, and nobody knew that I didn't speak. So it might be different for you. You just got to find something that you can do. And of course, the crucial component here that dominates all others is to believe that you can do it. I faced the ultimate challenge when it came time to say my first word to one of my school teachers, and it was going to be arranged by my psychologist. Talking to teachers was going to be easier than talking to students at first because of the age gap and the fact that they're there to help you. So we arranged a time for one of my teachers to come and meet me during the lunchtime, and I'd have the chance to say at least one word to her. She was pushing me to talk because I knew that this was the moment that I had to get it out. I needed the pressure and I needed to not back out of it. This was my chance. The perfect opportunity was now. It was perfectly set up, and to be honest, it was set up by accident. I just walked up the stairs. I just happened to come across that teacher during lunchtime without actually planning to go there. It just happened. So that was when the challenge began, and I knew from that moment I have to do it. I can't back out. So I gathered up all my strength, all my confidence, and started pushing myself to utter my first word, just one single word. All I had to do was say hi. That's it. And I stood there for a couple of minutes, trying trying to focus on getting the word out, and I could actually feel the confidence starting to emerge. As soon as I found that tiny ounce of confidence inside me, I just grabbed it and held onto it and started pushing myself to talk, pushing myself beyond my limits. I had to be out of my comfort zone, because if you're not out of your comfort zone, you're never going to really achieve much, are you? I was well out of my comfort zone. It was very hard, and I was very nervous the whole time. But eventually, when time decided, I was able to just do it. I just said the word hi. The word hi just came out without thinking for too much longer. I just made it happen, just like that. And that was when I felt a huge weight lift off my shoulders. I was thankful that I managed to do it, and my teacher was impressed. She congratulated me. I knew that that was just the hardest moment in my life overcome, and to this day I still remember the feeling. From then on, I knew I was going to be able to say hi much easier next time to that teacher, and in fact the next challenge was for me to repeat the process with other teachers. Sure enough, they would have heard about what happened, and each time thereafter it proved to become much easier, almost instant. So then the challenges had to be taken up another notch. I paid my school counsellor a visit and actually struck up a conversation instead of just saying hi. The school counsellor was someone I'd always used to go and see because I wouldn't hang around the kids, of course. That was one of the only places I could go to and hang around and feel safe. It was either that or the library where I'd hang out, not really talking to anyone, just keeping to myself on the computer or in a book. So when I went to see her, I just said hi, talked about my day. I was shy, but I spoke clearly. That same day, in the evening after school, the school formal was on. I didn't think I was going to talk there or anything, because that was entirely a student interaction party. I seated myself at the table with the group of friends that I arrived with. I didn't have a date, neither did they, so we were kind of in our own little group together. The party started soon enough, and everyone got up to dance. I got up as well. As I did, one of the kids who used to pick on me all the time for not speaking, he came up to me, made fun of me in front of his date, said, "This guy doesn't speak, I don't speak," and they were in for a surprise. The girl asked me to say hi. That's when it happened. I just said hi. Didn't even expect didn't even expect to. The confidence just came out of nowhere. I just said hi to her, which of course resulted in a very surprised reaction from that kid. He was so shocked that I said hi to her, and it spurred the biggest reaction. And man, students all around were hearing about the news. They were all coming up to me to hear me speak for the first time. It was the breakthrough for me, and happened when I least expected it. I got many awesome reactions from people as the news continued to spread. I'm sure that soon enough the whole form was going to know, but they didn't. And that was not until the awards presentation, where I was asked to go onto the stage to collect an award. The award was titled "Never Shuts Up." So it was a sarcastic remark for me, and they used to tell me to shut up in class as a joke. But something I always took as a good joke. I never took it personally. It was complete sarcasm. People used to make fun of me all the time. Just some light-hearted humour. All in good taste, not intended to offend. Or maybe it was. I don't know. I didn't care. I was always able to laugh every time someone cracked a joke. So when I went on stage to collect my award, Never Shuts Up, something unexpected happened. There were people who still hadn't heard about what happened, and they were encouraging me to give a speech, sarcastically, saying, "Give us a speech, give us a speech," as I went on to collect my award. That's when I grabbed the microphone and told them to shut up. I don't think they expected that one. They all loved it though. I was pretty happy. That was one of the happiest moments of my life. I'll never forget it. I caught up with what I missed out on by not ever verbally interacting with anyone over all the years. We all danced for the rest of the night. We had a great time. I realised how much more fun it was when I was verbally interacting with people. And and from then on, I could never see myself going back to a mute ever again. I would never allow it to happen. And very importantly, I managed to do this because I believed in myself. And of course, that's very important. You can't do something without believing in yourself. Ever since, I've only been on further quests to discover myself, discover who I am, see how I fit into the world, and I've been going on trips around the world, expanding on my confidence. From not talking to anyone for 9 years at all, I've been suddenly talking to everyone. And I'm 22 years old. That was all when I was 15. And from my travels since then, I've learned many more things about myself that I never even knew were a part of me. So I hope you've enjoyed my story. I hope it gives you a little bit of inspiration, an idea of what it's like to live this kind of life. And most of all, I hope this video reaches people out there who are struggling from selective mutism, and I hope I can inspire them to break through this awful barrier, because it really is a tough one. It feels like you physically cannot talk. It's one of the hardest things I've ever had to overcome in my life, and I'm grateful that I did overcome it. Please believe in yourself. It's so important. There's something to learn from every experience, good or bad. This is my story. This is what I have to offer. Signing off.